the new GMC Terrain AT4 have one of the best or one of the worst all-wheel drive systems in the class? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. I'm on the TFL Slip Test, and we're going to get this vehicle stuck on purpose and see if we can get unstuck. Now, immediately, there's something weird with this GMC. You can put this vehicle in a two-wheel drive setting. You can lock it in front-wheel drive mode, which you typically can't do in these crossovers. And you can see in the two-wheel drive setting, I'm nice and stuck. So let's go ahead and engage all-wheel drive here. And let's see how quickly we can get unstuck. So onto the accelerator, yep, just like that, rear diff kicked in action, and we pulled right on down. But that's one of the crazy things about these GM crossovers, is you can manually select front wheel drive, or you can just leave it in all wheel drive, like I think most people are going to do anyways. Now, this Terrain competes with vehicles like the Toyota RAV4 Woodland, the Honda CR-V Trail Sport, along with others in this small crossover class. But there's an argument to be made too. There might be some cross-shopping here with the Passport Trail Sport as well as the Bronco Sport on the smaller side of things. So I'm really curious to see how this vehicle is going to hold up when things get tougher. So the diagonal slip test, left front, right rear, stuck in the rollers, very common in the snow, very common off-road. Let's see if we can get unstuck. So we're in normal drive mode, all-wheel drive engaged, onto the accelerator. Okay, so that actually took quite a bit of work, and the way we run this test is we start the vehicle out in normal mode, and then if we get stuck, we can engage some of the off-road modes, including the terrain mode in this GMC. So I have a feeling we're going to need that here in the next test. With the Terrain up on the lift, we can check out some of its engineering. Now, up front here, we're going to find a transverse mounted 1.5 liter turbo 4 that's good for 175 horsepower and just over 200 pound-feet of torque. Now, here's the thing about the Terrain. If you get a front wheel drive Terrain, you're stuck with a CVT, but if you get an all-wheel drive Terrain like this AT4, well, now you got an 8-speed automatic with a torque converter, which is a benefit over some of its Korean competition that's using dual clutches in this segment, especially for off-roading. Now, if we look underneath here, we are going to find just a little bit of underbody protection. So big credit to GMC for making this happen. So we do have a skid plate here that protects the engine a little bit. And then I do also want to give them credit for integrated recovery points. Where are they? Feeling around for them. There they are. So the previous gen Terrain was mostly an appearance group. I'm glad that with the AT4 and this new one, they've given it some actual hardware. So integrated recovery points and a skid plate here. Now, beyond that, we are also going to find a set of general grabber tires. These are 235/65 R17, so pretty decent sized tire, especially for this category, and a relatively small wheel, which is great to see. It does have a McPherson strut front suspension setup, and then as we make our way back, things do look a little bit less impressive back here. This is just a little bit of plastic sheeting to protect some of the lines that run underneath the vehicle. And then your fuel tank back here is looking pretty vulnerable. So if they wanted to bring this up a step, they'd give this some real protection. And then we also don't have any rock protection over here. So there's a couple of things that its competition has, including things like a dual clutch rear diff, which this vehicle doesn't have, but you know, it's okay. So next up, it's getting a lot tougher. This is the three-wheel slip test. So both rear wheels are stuck, front left is stuck, only the front right is on the ground. So starting out in the normal drive mode here. Doesn't feel like we have enough traction intervention to get us unstuck. So I'm going to go right to the terrain mode here, which is unique for the AT4 trim on the GMC Terrain. Trying. Not enough intervention here. What if we go into the off-road setting? Off-road setting. Kind of a disappointing result here. Back to the terrain mode for one last try. So what we're not experiencing is enough traction intervention to get us unstuck. So we're done on this test. I might need a cheat to get off here. This is a failed test. There we go. Just turned the wheel all the way and it got off. But that front test was a fail, so we'll try the rear and see if that was any better. Now, typically with these front wheel drive based SUVs, if they can't do a front wheel on the ground, they're not going to do a rear wheel on the ground. But we're going to give it a go. So now only the right rear is on the ground. We're in the terrain mode. Going to do it. Okay, so not a great result for the GMC. We got off with the front wheels, we got off in the diagonal, but when it came to either of the three wheels, we were just hopelessly stuck. So I'm gonna cheat my way off this, and we'll go see what this translates to out in the real world. I do think it's interesting, once again, just to revisit this, that General Motors does this front wheel drive to all wheel drive button thing because it's an all wheel drive system. You can run it in full time. I suppose if you live in an environment like Colorado where maybe you don't need all wheel drive and you want some of the fuel savings with front wheel drive, you can do that. But usually these things revert to front wheel drive anyways when just cruising on the road. So kind of an interesting take that GM has done here. Now, for this test, I'm going to run the trenches course twice. We're going to run it first in the off-road setting, and then we're going to try it in the off-road setting, or the terrain setting, excuse me, and see how it compares. So first off-road, all-wheel drive engaged, and then we're going to put it in the terrain mode and see if we see an improvement. Once again, that terrain mode is exclusive to the AT4. Now, we start getting a little stuck here in the trenches, start lifting up tires, and then we're going to feel that transition. And we do hear these grasses on the underside, maybe some dirt, but luckily we do have that underbody shield, which is great. This is where it starts to get tough. Now my goal is not to take this with momentum. So we are fully stuck here. Now I've gone full throttle in the off-road setting. There it goes. Finally makes that transition. Very slow to respond there. We got one more big transition here. Once again, lose all momentum, make it hard on the truck. So I'm doing everything she's got. Come on, Canyon. Dig, Canyon, dig. I keep saying Canyon. Terrain. Dig, terrain, dig. Saying canyon because we just bought this canyon, which I'm excited about, but it gets stuck in my head. So that was not a great result. Took pretty much full throttle to get up those trenches when we got stuck, and took a lot of spinning before the all-wheel drive system decided to distribute torque as it needed. So now we're going to try that terrain mode, which is unique once again to the AT4, and see if that shows a difference here. Okay, terrain mode engaged. Let's see if this is any better. Same technique, just crawling it nice and slow, same line. Got our first wheel pickup there. Good transition so far. Now we got another transition here, picking up wheels. Onto the throttle, now full throttle. Still taking a long time to make those decisions to distribute torque. Come on, there we go. We got one more big transition here. Alright, now we do have a warning here. This is vehicle stuck, disable traction control. Sure. Where did that warning go? Now we're at full throttle. Huh. Let's go traction off here. Give this one more go. Oh, the terrain mode is worse than the off-road mode. Traction back on, so I'm gonna have to take this with just a little bit of momentum. I'm not really feeling any kind of intervention here at all in the terrain mode. This is supposed to be the harder core off-road version. Come on, baby, come on. Oh, this system is just cutting all the power and all the fun. Traction control off doesn't seem to help much. Okay, well, we forced it up that hill, but let me tell you what, folks. She didn't want to do it. So she did do it, but that was a hell of a lot of work to get it up that obstacle. So kind of a disappointing result from an all-wheel drive standpoint. I feel like the tires are good, recovery points are good, but I fear you might be using those recovery points more than you may want. The terrain might be based on the Chevrolet Equinox, but this interior is all Acadia. There's some really nice features in here, like this 15-inch display, which is Google operated. So here we can see the Google Maps suite of operating features, but there's also great news for folks who are fans of CarPlay. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay, which is great. Something that can't be said for some of its EV siblings here within the Chevrolet lineup. Now, this is a very simple and easy to use system. I find that it's intuitive. Of course, we have heated seats in this vehicle, automatic climate control, which is operated via buttons. So credit to GMC for putting buttons in. It's got some additional storage here, a couple of cup holders, and a good sized wireless charger with a decent center console here. Now, you'd expect this interior to be pretty nice for the price of this vehicle. We're looking at over $40,000, which is a lot of money, but it does have a full panoramic sunroof. Push the button, the car on, it's gonna slide on back. It's got these pretty cool two-tone seats, and just a lot of nice little bits and bobs that make this thing feel pretty premium. Now the MSRP on this Terrain is about $43,000, and there's a lot to like about this car. It's got a great interior, it's got pretty good technology, and it's very comfortable on the road. However, as a terrain-capable vehicle, I'm not sure this AT4 is quite up to the task. It's got good tires, it's got the look, but it doesn't really have the all-wheel drive programming, and I think with some software tweaks, GMC could make this really good, but as it sits, it's not quite there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Big thank you to Cole behind the camera, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, Tommy.
Yep.
They need, you know what they need?
What's that?
They need an X after the 4.
AT4X version of the Terrain. Maybe we will get one.
Exactly. That's what we're looking for, GM.